They knocked the new girl out cold. No warning, no mercy, just 2 hits in the dark. And she dropped hard. The instructors laughed, called it a lesson, wrote it off as combat prep. Because to them, she was just another overcleared observer. No trident on her chest, no reputation in the room, just a quiet face with a tucked-in badge, and no one asking where she came from. But what they didn't know was that the girl they floored, she was a Navy SEAL and she wasn't unconscious. She was waiting for the moment to wake up, step back onto the mat, and end the fight in seconds. Now, before we show you the exact chokehold that dropped the smug off their faces and the line she delivered that froze the whole gym in place, drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. Tap subscribe with the bell icon on and get ready because this time the new girl wasn't new. She was trained. The wind coming off the Pacific always carried weight. Not loud, not violent, just steady. On the far western edge of the naval installation, shut beyond the razor wire perimeter and rusting cargo containers, waves cracked against the seawall. Down here on the combat deck, there was no room for drift. Lieutenant Commander Elena Voss stepped off the idling personnel truck without ceremony. No one greeted her. Her boots landed clean on the asphalt. Duffel slung over her shoulder. Tan uniform. No name patch. No visible insignia. Just a plain clip badge. Observer clearance, interbranch rotation. Behind tinted glass inside the truck, a young enlisted Marine watched her walk toward the gate. "You think she's admin?" he murmured. "Probably audit control," his buddy replied. Another clipboard officer. She wasn't carrying a clipboard. Past the checkpoint, metallic clangs echoed. Kettlebells slamming to concrete, sparring mats being reset. The salt hung thick, mixing with engine oil and sun-baked gravel. From behind the supply annex, Sergeant Harris leaned against ammo crates. "That her?" Corporal Kane squinted past the haze. "Yep, Voss. Behavioral placement from Joint Ops Command. No record in the system. Looks like a placeholder." Harris snorted. "She got that don't touch me look. Probably here to write a report." "She is a report." The two of them chuckled as she passed. Her pace unhurried, head straight. She didn't look at them, but somehow she took in everything. Her eyes skimmed the mat spacing, the armory locks, the gate guard who saluted 2 beats too late. She said nothing, but she noted it all. The operations board near the watchtower listed current evals and assigned roles. Her name was posted near the bottom, digitally scrolled in institutional gray. Voss, A. Observer rotation for demo. No fanfare, no welcome, just a name on a board. She exhaled once, adjusted her shoulder strap, and stepped into the complex. Just another quiet woman with a pass. And no one, not yet, bothered to ask what she was really there to see. The midday sun didn't hit Black Harbor directly. It refracted off steel plating, off tinted windows, off sweat-darkened gravel. The close quarters response group had assembled without delay. Mixed uniforms, Marines, Navy, a few contractors in regulation PT kits. No ranks visible on the mat. Just numbers on vests and taped initials. That's how Harris ran his drill teams. Anonymity bred hierarchy. Real hierarchy in his eyes. Not the kind sewn onto collars. "All right," he barked, tossing a pair of gloves to one of the recruits. 1-minute grapples. Take the legs or hold the top position. No taps, just pins. Elena stood at the edge of the ring, adjusting her wrist wraps. Slim black gloves, not reinforced. Standard issue. Harris turned toward her, half grin curling up one cheek. "You planning to type us to death, Commander?" A few snickers broke out. She looked up. "I plan to stay on my feet," she said. There wasn't a single note of sarcasm in her voice, which somehow made it worse. Corporal Kane stepped forward. "We pairing by rank or weight class?" Harris shrugged. "Neither. We're pairing by reality. You want to lead, you'd better survive the tumble." He motioned to Elena. "After you, ma'am." She stepped in without hesitation. The mat was coarse, foam on rubber texture, a bit slick from the last round. She rolled her shoulders once, then dropped into a defensive stance, knees bent, posture relaxed. Kane moved fast, faster than she expected. He wasn't testing, he was checking. A single leg grab aimed at destabilizing her base. She shifted her weight, counterbalanced, blocked the attempt with a hip check that almost worked. But his second move came dirty. A quick inside hook disguised as a slip. His foot wrapped her ankle, and he twisted with his shoulder instead of his arm. She hit the mat hard. Not flat, not clean. On her side, shoulder first, air rushing out of her in a quiet grunt. Oof! Someone muttered from the sidelines. She pushed up immediately. No wince, no hesitation, just a recalibration of footing. Kane gave her a mock shrug. Sorry, must have slipped. She didn't respond. By the third round, the mood had shifted, whispered remarks behind the line. No way she's SEAL command. She's admin with clearance tags. Looks like she's never even deployed. On the terrace above, the commandant observed with arms folded. He scribbled something onto a clipboard and handed it to the assistant beside him. 5 seconds later, her performance metrics updated in the master file. No commendation, no context, just a note. Standard endurance, moderate ground retention, low counter initiative. Down on the mat, Elena stood alone again, breathing measured, uniform dusty. Kane gave Harris a look like he'd proved something. Harris only said, "Told you. She's a placement." But the truth was she'd taken the fall. She hadn't missed it. She'd just logged it for later. By evening, the shadows across Black Harbor stretched long and thin. Most of the day's noise had faded. Just the idle hum of generators and the distant hiss of waves. Inside the mess hall, fluorescent lights buzzed while trays clattered between fingers and tabletops. The food was standard. Oversalted protein, rehydrated starch, and something green no one touched. At the far table, Sergeant Harris held court like he always did. Boots stretched out, spoon in one hand, opinion in the other. "You see her face when Kane dropped her?" he said, not whispering. "I've seen rookies brace better falling off an office chair." A few laughs followed. Corporal Kane smirked and stabbed at his chicken. She didn't even protest, just stood there like it was policy review. "That's because it is," someone added. "She's probably here to write a behavior memo." "Good," Harris said. "I'll give her something worth writing about." He didn't need to clarify. Everyone understood. "She's got one foot in the paper world," Harris continued, "and someone needs to remind her what the floor feels like." He leaned forward, voice dropping just enough to pull the others in closer. "I've been doing this 17 years. Seen every flavor of leadership they wheel through here. The ones who last, they earn it in the dirt first, not in some joint ops briefing room." One of the Delta instructors nodded. "She hasn't even been downrange, far as anyone knows." "Exactly," Harris said. "So we test her. Not to break her, just to see if there's anything under that uniform worth respecting." He glanced toward the window where Elena had been sitting moments before. Empty now. Tonight, unofficial mat time. Just us. No cams after 2100. Standard contact rules. Kane hesitated. "And if she files?" Harris shrugged. "She won't. People like that don't want the attention. They fold quiet or they leave. Either way, we did our job." Another round of chuckles. One of the junior instructors muttered something about combat physics. Harris tapped his spoon on the tray like a gavel. "Exactly. Physics. Mass over myth." Across the room, Elena sat alone by the window, her tray barely touched. She hadn't looked over once, but her head was slightly tilted. Her posture relaxed, the kind that only came from being aware of every word in the room. She picked up her tray, walked out without a sound. Outside, the air had cooled, salt and asphalt. She moved past the supply annex toward the barracks wing and slipped inside the shared personnel comms room. It was empty. She closed the door behind her, entered her access code on the wall-mounted console, and activated the secure uplink. The face on the screen was pixelated by the connection lag. A joint ops handler in civilian attire, headset on, eyes focused. "Progress?" he asked. "Predictable," Elena said. "Behavior matches the warning packet. Confirmed engagement scheduled unofficial this evening." He leaned forward slightly. "Do you need protocol override?" No, she replied. Let them run their test. Pause passed between them, the kind where authority wasn't spoken, just understood. Then the screen blinked out. Elena turned away, unzipped the smaller pouch in her duffel, and pulled out her sparring wraps. Regulation grade, reinforced stitching, fingertips exposed. She wound them slowly around her knuckles, looping tight. No flexing, just preparation. Then she unlaced her boots, retied them twice, and stood in front of the mirror. Her reflection looked steady, focused. Her voice was barely audible. Let's see what physics feels like when it hits back. The gym after hours wasn't silent, just still. Echoes hung longer. Every scuff of a boot cut through the space. Above the mats, a single line of ceiling lights buzzed down in sequence. Half the fixtures burnt out. The glow felt sharp, dim, unsafe. Lieutenant Commander Elena Voss stepped through the side entrance without a word. Duffel slung over her shoulder, gloves strapped tight. Sergeant Harris and Corporal Kane stood near the far mat with two Delta instructors, both solid, grinning. One bounced on his heels. The other cracked his knuckles. Kane looked her over. Didn't think you'd show. I was curious, she said. How much you rely on uneven odds? Harris chuckled. It's not about odds. It's about gravity. That's what people like you forget. He tossed her a mouthguard in a wrapper. You want to make this clean? She didn't take it. She stepped onto the mat, feet planted. Rules of contact? Full body, Kane answered. No strikes above the collarbone. No blindside attacks. Of course, Harris added, smiling. We're professionals. Elena nodded. Then proceed. The first exchanges were legitimate. One Delta instructor clinched and dragged, testing balance. She broke contact, countered with wrist deflection. Clean. The second came harder, a shoulder check. Elena rolled with it, reset stance. Harris circled. You've got some balance. I'll give you that. Then the snap. Harris lunged with a sharp left elbow, tight, fast, not agreed. Caught her temple. Her head jerked. Kane followed with a shove from behind, forearm to jaw. She dropped hard. Thick thud. Body shut down mid-motion. Gloves twitched. Boots scraped. Then nothing. For 2 seconds they froze. One muttered, She went down too fast. She breathing. Kane knelt. Yeah, pulse steady. Harris checked her eyes. Out cold. Clean hit. Not clean, Kane snapped. That elbow wasn't part of it. Harris stood. Doesn't matter. She knew the risks. They dragged her gently off the mat, laid her on the medical cot. No one called med unit. No radio. Write it off as heat stress. One said. Slipped. Another added. She didn't log training hours. Harris stared down. This doesn't go anywhere. They nodded and turned to leave. None saw her fingers shift. Subtle breath. Eyes fluttered. Elena Voss was waking up. The air smelled like vinyl and old sweat. Hum from the overhead fan. She opened her eyes. No gasp. Body ached. Bruise forming, jaw tight, temple throbbing. For second inhale, hold. 6-second exhale. Pulse regulated in under 30. Room empty. No guard. She sat up slow, vision stable. Mirror showed swollen temple, purpling. Lower lip split. She leaned forward. Expression neutral, calm. Mind ran the sequence. Harris elbow, upward angle, cheap shot. Kane shove, coordinated. Third man circling. Pack behavior. Seen it in Fallujah, Kandahar. Except those were insurgents. She flexed jaw. Pain spiked. Dulled. Tolerable. Bruise yellow in 3 days. Lip seal by morning. Fingers reached under cot. Duffel dumped. Inside, folded patch. Regulation ID. Emblem beneath name. Navspec War Group 2. Silver eagle over cross trident. She clipped it behind name tag, hidden. Stood. Spine straight. Gait steady. Walked the mat edge. No wobble. Re-entered equilibrium, T the exit. Whisper. Guess we're done pretending. She opened the door, walked into the night. The gym wasn't empty, but quiet. Harris, Kane, one Delta man on the mat, gloves half on, laughing. Fourth on weight bench, smirking. Door opened. Elena stepped in. Faint bruising on temple, yellowish. Stiff shoulder. She walked to mat edge. You forgot to log the injury report. Harris blinked. Grinned slow. Didn't think you'd be standing this soon. I was never lying down, she said. He stepped forward. Here to file a grievance? There's protocol. This is the protocol. Tone unchanged, but air shifted. Kane's smirk dropped. Delta man flexed hands. Elena stepped onto mat. Boots silent. Movements economical. Weight centered. No stance, just presence. I believe the phrase was, continue where you left off. Silence stretched. Harris laughed once, unsure. You serious? I'm operational now. Rules of contact. Same as before, except this time you follow them. He tossed towel, raised guard, stepped forward, confident, underestimating. Her first move, defensive, stepped inside his swing, wrist twist, redirected past hip. Textbook Bud's counter. He reset, came heavier. A lunge grab combo meant to overwhelm. She ducked the forward weight, pivoted her heel, and struck with one open palm into the top ridge of his clavicle. Thud, not loud, just final. Harris dropped to his knees. He wheezed, couldn't lift his arm. His nervous system had short-circuited from the impact. Not broken, just shut off. Still think physics is on your side? She asked softly. Kane stepped in next. Aggressive, angry. She shifted footing. Evade, inside turn, trap, downward sweep. His feet left the ground just enough. Then he hit the mat flat, pinned, face turned, breathing shallow. The third man didn't move. Neither did the fourth. Elena stood above them, calm, controlled. This was your demonstration, she said. Let's make sure everyone learns from it. None spoke. No threats, no yelling. Just silence thick enough to bruise. Harris stood. Not fully, just enough to roll his left shoulder and shake out numbness. His right arm dangled slightly, but pride had taken over. You had your turn, he muttered. Now I take mine. Elena said nothing. She adjusted stance, weight to balls of feet, knees loose, back heel planted. No flourish, just readiness. Harris lunged, wild, fast. Exactly what instructors warn against. Weight on lead leg, arms wide, aiming for clinch. She didn't move until the last half second. Then, sidestep, redirect momentum with left arm across his neck, pivot behind. Before his foot planted, her right arm locked deep across his throat. Palm to bicep, elbow tucked, pressure tight. Textbook rear naked choke. Bloodline, not windpipe. 0.3 seconds. 4. He staggered. 5. Knees buckled. She eased him to the mat with precision. Head hit with a muted thump. Body slackened. 9 seconds, over. The others froze. Room dead quiet except for the gym's old wall timer resetting to 0. In the corner. A trainee lowered his phone cam. He'd captured everything. Eyes wide, silent. Kane sat up slowly on the mat's edge, chest heaving. Not looking at her. Elena glanced at the third man. You still standing? He shook his head. Not anymore. Good. She walked to the rack, unstrapped gloves slowly, every motion deliberate. Before leaving, one final line. No malice, no volume. That's the difference between violence and control. She didn't wait for a reply as she stepped to the door. The trainee reached for the emergency form, voice shaking. Do we file the report? She didn't turn. File your own injury reports. Then she was gone. No victory, no gloating, just silence. And 3 men remembering what it felt like to underestimate someone with nothing to prove. Petty Officer Second Class Lopez stood frozen 10 seconds after she left. Phone warm in his palm. Footage paused on the final frame. Harris slumped, Elena walking away, posture unchanged. He replayed the choke 3 times, 9 seconds, textbook. Lopez saved the file, uploaded it to the training safety server under incident documentation. Standard procedure to BY0200. Accessed 4 times. By 0430, 12. By 0600, Commandant's office flagged it. Footage hit command by 0700. Inside the admin annex, the Commandant replayed it twice silent, then with sound. He paused only at, "File your own injury reports." By 0730, a summons issued. In the briefing room, Lieutenant Commander Elena Voss sat straight-backed, uniform pressed, left shoulder healing, hands flat on the table. No counsel, just her and 3 officers. Captain Reed, Facility Director. Commander Hale, Operations Review. JAG Liaison with recorder on the table. "We've reviewed the footage," Reed said. "All of it." Elena silent. Hale tapped a file. "You engaged 3 instructors outside scheduled ops. Explain." "They initiated unrecorded contact the previous night," she said calmly. "I responded under regulation rules." Reed raised an eyebrow. "You consider a chokehold regulatory?" "I consider silence more dangerous, especially after a concussion-level strike to the temple." JAG cut in. "Documentation of prior incident?" Elena slid a folder across. Time-stamped photos of injuries. Medic log. Blank instructor waiver from Harris. JAG scanned. 3rd incident for Sergeant Harris in 18 months. Previous 2 flagged. Not prosecuted. Juniors withdrew complaints. Reed's jaw tightened. "I wasn't briefed." "Marked resolved through peer mediation," JAG said. "Meaning transfers out," Harris stayed. He tapped her bruised temple photo. "This time, someone didn't fold." Reed sighed. "You could have pushed for court-martial." "Wasn't interested in headlines," Elena said. "Interested in standards." Pause. Commandant tapped the desk. "Effective immediately. Harris and Kane suspended pending separation. Instructor status revoked. 3rd party reassigned." He turned to Elena. "And you, Commander?" She stood. "Request reassignment to operational training oversight." "Not looking for commendation." She paused. "I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for standards." She walked out. No one stopped her. Sun dropped low over Black Harbor. Facility quiet. On the western field, Elena moved alone. Controlled motion, facing horizon, one arm extended in breathing drill. Bruises faint, posture strong. Footsteps. A young recruit stopped 10 feet back. "Ma'am," he said. She lowered her hand, waited. "We didn't know who you were." "That's not the point." He stepped closer. "Then what is?" She turned, steady. "The point is, now you do." He saluted. She returned it with a nod. He walked off. 2 more recruits slowed nearby, glanced, then away. Quiet respect. Elena turned to the ocean. Feet planted. Shadow no longer alone. Sun dipped. Silence remained, not dismissal, but the kind that follows when no one questions your place anymore. If someone knocked you out to prove they were tougher, would you strike back right then? Or wait for the moment discipline could expose everything? And is real control, the kind that doesn't flinch, yell, or need applause, harder to master than raw strength? Drop your answers in the comments. We read everyone. Tap like, hit subscribe, turn on the bell. Know someone who thinks silence is weakness? Share this. Next videos on screen. Watch now. See you tomorrow.